Hi, I'm Cathy. This is my husband Dane and our little girl Nova. Dane and I are both originally from South Africa, but moved to Dubai for 5 years in 2016. In 2021, we made the big decision to immigrate to Australia permanently. Our fur baby, Alula, also made the long journey to join us. We're just starting out our life in beautiful Perth, Western Australia, and I look forward to sharing what's involved in setting up our life here and the many adventures that I'm sure we're going to encounter in this new country. Being an expat in a foreign country comes with its own challenges, and I hope that our experience and adventures can inspire and bring hope to those going through the same process. Hi everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If it's your first time landing here today, my name is Cathy. I'm a South African expat wife and mom who recently made the move to Perth with my husband Dane and our little girl Nova, as well as our doggy Alula. We've been here now almost 6 months, and I make videos all about life in Perth and navigating this new city and what it's taking to get our lives set up here. If you're one of my regular viewers, I'm so sorry that I haven't uploaded a video in a while. I unfortunately suffered a loss in my family and I had to travel home to South Africa for a few weeks and prioritize just being with my family and working through this difficult time. But I am back in Perth now and I will be uploading my videos regularly again. I aim to deliver at least one video a week for you guys. If you enjoyed today's video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and please subscribe to my channel. I would love to get these videos out to as many people who are making the move to Perth as possible, and YouTube picks up on interaction with videos, comments that you drop down below, and can then recommend the videos to other people who might need a little bit of info or are interested in making the move to Perth. So let's get straight into today's video, the pros and cons of living in Perth. Keeping in mind these are subjective, my husband and I have probably debated a couple of things as well, and we've realized that what might be a pro for us might be a con for another family or individual. So take everything with a pinch of salt and do your own research. I cannot emphasize this enough. Read as many articles as you can about Perth. Read the stats about healthcare, crime rates, social issues, children's schooling. All of that is so important when you're making a decision to move. So this just gives you a little bit of an overview and summary, and I hope will trigger some points for you to think about if you're considering making this move. Going into our first pro, Perth is the sunniest capital city in Australia. It's got great weather. We've just survived the winter season, which was quite cold and rainy and windy, but we're really looking forward to summer days. There are apparently a lot of beach days out there. It's a lovely way to spend your weekend, and Perth gives us a lot of sunshine to be able to do that. That's a high priority for our family. We love being outdoors, at the beach, going on hikes. So good weather was definitely a major consideration for our family. Then unfortunately, an offset of this pro is that Perth, or WA, has one of the highest skin cancer rates in the world. Necessary precautions and protecting your and your family's skin. So our second pro and con, Perth is one of the most isolated cities in the world. So it's got quite a lot of distance between Perth and another major city. The offset here for us, we are small town people. So our take is the sort of more remote and small population. We love that, and it's something we appreciate and want for our family. But I realize for someone who's perhaps more metropolitan, who grew up in a big city and enjoys the hustle and bustle and being able to jet between other major cities, this might be a con for you. So it really just depends on your views. We find it quite okay to be one of the most isolated cities. I think it's resulted in Perth keeping a bit of a small town feel, which we enjoy. So our third con for living in Perth is that anywhere you want to travel is quite expensive and quite far to go. So whether you're looking to travel to other capital cities in Australia or travel somewhere abroad for a holiday, even to your home country, it's probably going to cost you a pretty penny and you won't be able to do that much traveling as a result. For our family, we're quite happy to be based at home and do minimal holidays. We've got a very little girl and then obviously our dog, so we're quite happy to do domestic holidays at this stage. But Bali is also a good option if you do feel like getting out of Australia or out of Perth and going somewhere international, Bali is probably your best and most affordable bet. But if you're someone who's looking to travel quite a lot, or you enjoy traveling and it's a priority for you, I would reconsider choosing Perth, because yeah, it's going to cost you. Our fourth pro for Perth is that it's got a very large expat community. They estimate up to 1/3 of the population here is made up of expats. So if you are a fellow expat like ourselves, it's really just nice to know that you've got a community of your nationality that you can plug into. It doesn't mean we isolate ourselves and only hang out with South Africans. Our time in Dubai taught us that it's great to have a diverse variety of friends, and you learn so much from other cultures and people, and it's something we really love about expat life. But it does help having people who come from your home country and are facing similar challenges and have the same views as you, so that you can connect with them. It does help adjusting to a new country that much. It helps it happen quicker, and it feels a little bit easier. So I'm sure you would find, a community from your country that you could slot into, and that's a huge pro. Where in other capital cities there might be fewer expats, and you might have to take a little bit longer to make friends with other Australians or others that you don't immediately have a connection with. Our fourth con is going to be the crime rates in Perth. So we come from South Africa, and I've mentioned it on a few of my other videos. South Africa has one of the highest crime rates in the world. So there are very few cities we would ever move to in the world that would seem less safe than what South Africa already does. But I will say that Perth is considered to have a moderate crime rate. So when you compare it to places like Adelaide, where they've got a very low crime rate, you would probably have to say that Perth it has more crime. So that's something to consider for you and your family. What we've experienced as South Africans, we do feel much safer here than we did in South Africa. That doesn't mean crime does not exist, but generally it's petty crime, robberies and theft, things like that, versus South Africa, which has a lot of violent crime. So you have to really compare apples with apples. And I think it's important as an expat not to move over here expecting a utopia. Australia has its issues, Perth has its issues, absolutely. And yeah, there's no real crime-free place I think you can go. We lived in Dubai, which it was pretty close. I mean, that was one of the safest places we've had the privilege of living. But I will say that we don't feel in danger in any way in Perth. We are cautious, we make good choices, we lock our car, we try and be careful. But yeah, it does have a moderate crime rate. So if that's not something that you and your family are prepared to face, then perhaps it's not the place for you. Discussed that it's the most isolated city in the world and that traveling can be quite difficult. But that being said, if you do choose to live in Perth, a pro would be you're a little bit closer to your home country. If you live in South Africa, or perhaps you're coming from the UK, it does shave a couple of hours off your journey. And I also think it's going to be a huge change when they are reopening the route between Cape Town and Perth. Then you're looking at a 9.5-hour journey, and that's going to be such a pleasure. Having traveled back to South Africa now, I was reminded just how far it really does feel. 19.5 hours on a plane with your toddler is a huge journey. So yeah, that's something just to keep in mind, where if you're on the East Coast, you've got a couple of additional hours ahead of you for traveling. Right, the fifth con I'm going to discuss is a high cost of living. Now, if you compare Perth with the rest of Australia, especially places like Melbourne and Sydney, you will see that it's still slightly less expensive to live in Perth or WA than it is in those cities. However, coming from Dubai and South Africa, we have experienced that it's quite an expensive place to live, especially when it comes to buying a home, and just general inflation at the moment is really high. But I believe it's something that the government is working on. I also think it's important to remember just what the global market is doing at the moment. We've all just come out of COVID and things are a bit crazy. There are shortages in supplies. It's been a tough time. So hopefully the economy does improve and inflation does start to decrease. But that's definitely a con at this stage. Right, then our sixth pro is going to be that Perth has a very healthy job market. Generally, it's not very difficult to find a job if you've obviously got the right visa and you're on the ground here. There are tons of jobs available. If you are looking for a job, you're probably going to find one quite quickly. There are some difficulties when it comes to making sure you have relevant experience, but because they've got a labor shortage in general, I think most companies are open to hiring someone and getting you trained up and helping you start your job life in the city. Right, then our sixth con is going to be that it is difficult to find a home. So I'll link down below the video I made about finding your first rental in Perth. And yeah, it takes time, it's quite tricky. There isn't a lot of housing on the market at the moment, there's a shortage. There is currently what they call a boom going on. It's more referring to the mining industry. And when that happens, we tend to see an influx of people coming to WA and therefore people needing places to live. So there's a shortage at the moment. My husband and I are really hoping to see that balance out, especially in the next 5 years. We're obviously keen to buy a home, but at this current stage, buying a home in this market is just really, it would be crazy. Everything's so expensive and there isn't a great selection available. So we're hoping to ride the wave and relook at that in about 2 to 3 years. You also want to make sure that you are a permanent resident or citizen before you buy a home. Otherwise, you are faced with a penalty that you have to pay. I actually had someone message me on Instagram and ask about that. So yeah, that is something you want to consider and remember. Then our seventh pro of living in Perth is the amazing natural beauty and environment, and that you've got it right on your doorstep, this place to go out and adventure every weekend, go camping. So this depends on, again, what type of family or what type of person you are, and if this is something high on your priority list. If you are outdoorsy, this place is paradise and you're never going to be bored because there's always something to go out and do in nature. So we really love that side of Perth, and we're even more excited to see what the summer outdoor life is going to hold for us. Then our seventh con is going to just be how we feel the houses are not really built for the cold winters in Perth. So it doesn't snow here, but it gets pretty cold in winter and it's wet and windy and rainy. So the chill factor can really be intense, and the homes are not really equipped with radiators or underfloor heating or anything like that. So coming from South Africa, it's quite similar to what we experienced back home. The homes here are obviously built to keep you cool in the summer because summers get super hot, like 35 degrees Celsius plus. So I think the architecture and the design of the home and the build of the home is more focused on that. But I would recommend when you're looking for a house to try and choose a home that has built-in air conditioning at the very least to help keep you cool, I mean warm, and then also remember to maybe invest in some oil heaters and good quality blankets and linen to keep yourselves warm. Right, then our final con for today is that we have very, very slow deliveries when it comes to online deliveries or subscription deliveries. So anything that's basically not coming from WA, perhaps you've bought an appliance online, you're going to wait a couple of days longer for your delivery than you would if you were, say, on the East Coast in Brisbane or Melbourne or wherever. So that's something to consider and just to be patient. I also have a toy subscription box for Novi from an American-based company, and it takes really, really long to get here. I'll actually be ending my subscription because it's just so out of time with her getting what she needs. By the time it gets here, it's not actually what she needs anymore. So yeah, consider a few things like that and try and get most of your goods locally from WA to save yourself the headache and inconvenience of not getting things on time. So that's it for today's video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it shed some light on what Perth is all about and what we've encountered as pros and cons. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost you anything, and it really helps the channel grow and get recommended to other viewers like yourselves to hopefully help them out on their journey. I appreciate any comments you send me, and I would also love to connect with you on Instagram. Feel free to follow me. I'll put the little link up here now for you to see. And you're also welcome to private message me if you have any more specific questions that you're not comfortable asking on a public platform like YouTube. So that's it for today, guys. I'll catch you in the next one.